Angus' daughter. I will be one of your hosts this evening. I will not be passing the hat later.
Come on!
I just wanted to take a moment before we get started to just take some deep breaths and kind of like take a moment to settle in and give some thanks for Angus and who he was in your life. And I would like us to Reiki the mountains for him in this time and in this space and in this moment, because I think that we got to carry on his legacy for him. So if we want to just take a couple breaths, and also let's invite Angus to be here with us. Let's have him celebrate with us, because he didn't want a party and he didn't get to be a part of, right? So let's invite him in, and just going to take a couple moments, and then Colin, you can play that opening video, and Angus is actually going to usher us in and open this thing up, okay?
Andale.
So people, thank you very much for coming here. The Grey Creek Hall, it's a beautiful old building. There's a picture of me over there from 1978 in front of the Grey Creek Hall where I was hanging out when I first started learning how to juggle. Now there was a pile of people here today cleaning the place, just to get out the energy of the appreciation of this place. I think we should all give the people who cleaned it and take care of it a big round of applause.
So I just want to start by...
Sorry. That's a good start. Oh, sorry, Cal.
Turn the lights back on and ask. So thank you, Angus, for being such a brave artist and person who gave your whole life to healing people through laughter, through touch, joy, through lightness. You made so many sacrifices, and you touched and reached the entire earth. And I just want to lift you up and give you so much thanks for that right now while we hold space for your honor. And I know that it's a big loss for all of us, and it can feel really heavy and sharp and hard at times. But I'm just asking us all to have soft hearts right now and experience this with lightness. One of Angus's great gifts was that he celebrated with lightness when people went to especially when they went fast. He was like, woo, yeah! So I just want to carry that spirit for him today. And in nature, when a plant is going to die, right, it sends out flowers and it sends out seed. And it reproduces new life that carries on after it leaves. And Angus planted seeds in his whole life, in people, in animals, in places, in things, and in each of us. Seeds of hope, seeds of wisdom, seeds of growth, seeds of knowledge, seeds of silliness, seeds of playfulness and childlike wonder, seeds of joy, seeds of laughter. And it is our job to continue to water those seeds and watch them grow and carry on his legacy of magic in us, in our lives, and all around us. I'm going to read his eulogy, but I just wanted to be a little less formal before I went into the whole life history. And then after that, Keith, Angus's brother, is going to come up and speak, and a few more people are planned to speak, but we would love anybody to come up and share any stories, and we'll open up that space at the end. But if anybody knows right away that they want to get up and do something, that's totally okay too. Angus, whose full name was Gary Angus MacDonald, was born just outside of Vancouver in New Westminster on March 6th in 1952. His parents, Eunice Evelina Smith and Angus MacDonald, were both first-generation Canadians. And Gary was the youngest of 3 children, the eldest being Baleen and the second eldest Keith. Their father worked as a pharmacist for nearly 30 years before buying his own pharmacy in Port Coquitlam in 1948. They lived a beautiful life there and bought a summer home in Crescent Beach, where Angus first began swimming and diving, which he ended up doing competitively and being very talented at. By 14, he'd gotten so good he was asked to dive for Simon Fraser University, but after 2 years of diving for them, what turned into a bright future ended abruptly due to a bad car accident on the way home from a competition. In high school, Angus began skipping school and trying different things, and he found himself as a hippie nomad. Instead of going to college, Angus wanted to see the world, and indeed he did. He went to Afghanistan when he was 20, and then all over from there. Bolivia, Peru, multiple parts of Central and Southern America, then the Caribbean, and all over Europe. Angus learned to juggle and other vaudevillian performances and became a street performer who earned a living passing the hat and performing festivals all over the world and on the streets all over the world, and really paving the way for a lot of street performers today. He was known for his off-the-cuff humor and his way of charismatically shaking people up, whilst also impressing them with all of his skills and tricks that he awed his audiences with, but none greater than his gift of gab. Anyone who met Angus loved him, and his way with people and words took him all over the world multiple times and made him many dear friends and family in all corners of the earth. In 1982, his first child was born. That's me, Kale Crystal Ocean. And though he was traveling and performing, and we never lived together, he was always a big part of my life. And when he was in Vancouver, we spent so much of our childhood, me and Osha, my god sister, his goddaughter, watching shows on Robson Street or down by the beach in English Bay. In the early days, his show contained juggling pins and fire, cigar boxes, the Diablo, a whip and card tricks, along with other tricks he would test out or throw in. But when he started studying the oldest magic in the world, cups and balls, from a great magician and friend named Gazzo, everything changed, and Angus fell in love with magic. Coming back to Vancouver with so much excitement and zeal, it completed his show and who he was as a performer. He loved to shock people, to open their minds, to shake them out of their comfort, reality. Magic allowed him to do this in a new and big way. Angus was not only a performer, comedian, juggler, magician, carver, healing people with art, laughter, and magic, but he also studied and became a master of Reiki, an ancient healing form that uses the laying of hands. Angus became a Reiki master and was able to initiate others in Reiki by the time he was in his mid-30s. Angus was still traveling but wanting to have land somewhere warm and became a part of jugglers called and land called Belly Acres in Hawaii. Angus was one of the first members and a big part of the community and still stayed very close and in touch with them all until today. In 2000, Cedar McDonald Yu was born in Yalapa.
Yay, Cedar!
Having Cedar changed his life in the best ways, making being a father his favorite gig. He loved doing everything with Cedar and taking him everywhere with him. It changed his perspective and made him very nurturing, sweet, and paternal. For a long time, it was Angus and Cedar and Boo, Casablanca, and of course Blossom, Angus's Volkswagen van. He affectionately named Blossom. As he got older and his kids got older, he seemed to love them more and more, and they became by far the most important thing to him. Angus also still used Reiki to heal people, plants, and animals for all of his days. And while his years on this planet added numbers to his life, he never stopped living it the way he wanted to. He kept his place and his way of living that he loved, and he conducted his greatest magic trick. He managed to vanish from this planet without ever getting old. He lived his open-hearted, hippie, vagabond, rugged, rustic, outdoors, cracking jokes and yapping with all the locals where he lived in Mexico and Canada and all his friends across the globe to the very last day. Angus was special and unique in a way that made his presence larger than life. He honored his truth and who he authentically was and always. He lived and loved so openly, so purely and authentically. He created a web of people across the world touched by him, impacted by him, encouraged by him. He brought light and laughter, understanding and healing to every person and place that he went. He also brought a lightness that required you to remember not to take yourself too seriously. All right. Woo!
If anybody needs to change seats right now, you can move around. There's seats at the front. If you want to come in, come in. Make yourself at home. Yeah. Yeah, there's seats right here. Sit right in front. Come, sit.
Hi, I'm Angus's oldest brother. Thank you very much for helping us celebrate his life here today. Very nice you show up. Today we gather not only to mourn the loss of Angus, but also celebrate the incredible life he lived. Our sister Val wishes she could have made it to personally participate in this memorial celebration. However, it wasn't possible. Born just a few years apart, Angus was my companion, my best friend, and my partner in play and mischief. He and I shared countless memories, a myriad of emotions, and a lifetime of secrets and dreams. We were fortunate during the 50 years of his vagabond lifestyle to be able to live his life vicariously through the stories he told and of his many experiences. My sister Val always said that he was the most interesting man she ever knew. The family is still dealing with the new reality of life without Angus, and will get us through the rest of our lives. We love him dearly. He will be missed deeply, but our memories, pictures, and videos of him will be forever cherished. To say Angus loved Kale, Cedar, and his goddaughter Osha would be a huge understatement, and to say they're going to miss him would be an even greater understatement. He was proud of them all, their biggest cheerleader, doing what he could to encourage or help them out. Yeah, he talked and bragged about them a lot. They were the love of his life, along with his brother and sister, of course. Angus loved his place in Crawford Bay. We talked once or twice a week, and I could always tell by the energy in his voice when he was climbing around to look after his plants, taking numerous dogs for a hike, or hanging out at his place under the huge cedar tree that kept him dry even when it was raining, having a cig, and a hit of tequila or scotch. And then there were his yard sales. Donna and I have been here many times over the years, so we know well what the attraction was for him. Over the 22 years or so he lived here, he made lifelong friends. Angus hated the cold. Once the cold weather came, he escaped the Canadian winter to Casa Cedro, his place in Yelapa, Mexico. The warm respite he needed to practice his busking routine for the coming year and to run his Airbnb. Casa Cedro was a happy place. Angus had an insatiable zest for life and a boundless love for the world and its people. His travel stories were filled with laughter, wonder, and occasional mishap along the way. Each one a reminder of the joy he found on his journey. Angus's busking was not just about entertainment, humor, and fun. It was about bringing people together to remind us not to take life too seriously, and adding a dash of surprise and magic to our otherwise routine days. He was a spreader of joy. He knew that laughter was the best medicine, and he made sure we had our daily dose. His spirit was infectious, his voice loud, yeah, really loud. And his heart was generous, and his creativity with his craft was unmatched. Children and dogs loved Angus. I think that's about the finest trait you can say about anybody. Because dogs know, they have a sixth sense about who can be trusted. And children feel. They feel in their heart who loves them and recognizes a kindred spirit. Yes, he was a dog magnet. Whether in Yelapa or the coop, he always had Carablanca, also called Boo, and a raft of other dogs following him like Pig Pen and his dust. Let's imagine him in a place surrounded by the most happiest, playful, and loved children and dogs under the sun. Let's honor his memory by embracing laughter, by seeing the lighter side of life, and by occasionally being mischievous. His spirit lives on in the people he loved, the countless lives he touched, and the beautiful memories he created for us. Rest in peace, dear Angus. Your spirit will continue to tickle our funny bones and warm our hearts. Two roads diverged in the world, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Our mom died 20 years ago, and to this day, I always think of things, trying to do things that would make my mom proud. Kale, your dad would be so proud of you for all the amazing effort and work you've done in celebration here in Alaska, in Yelapa. Yeah.
Oh my God, we got lots of
And you too, Cedar, your dad would have been so proud of you for the amazing effort and work you've done at Casa Cedro, including keeping the rental casitas alive during our past season. Donna and I are very proud of you both as well, and are honored to have you like that. Thank you.
We lost bags. Suction bags, so Angus said all the time to someone told garbage.
Yelapa without him.
Right on.
The world, my life, without him seems impossible. So I won't. I will invite him in this new form, to be in my Yelapa, in my life, in my world, in a new way, but stay. Telling me stories, making jokes, cheering me on, teaching me to juggle. Stay. And let me be okay with you in this new way. Let me have the strength to stay, going the places you love, and seeing and experiencing them with joy. Let me not run away from the memories we made, but let me stay with them as you stay with me.
OSHA. More.
Encore.
Very entertaining. Yeah. Hi, I'm Osha, daughter of Lana and my late dad, John. I first met Angus the day I was born. He was a dear friend to my mom, like the brother she never had. They met in their early 20s, traveling around rainbow gatherings, the Courtney Fair, Pacific Northwest. All part of the same hippie tribe, eventually becoming roommates for a time here in the Coots. And after my mom moved to Cortez Island, he came to check it out there too. They traveled together to the Caribbean, followed each other's lead as they discovered beautiful places in the world, and stayed in touch over the years. Who knows how, in that era before cell phones and the internet, not to mention neither of them stayed in one place for very long in those days. Lots of postcards, I guess. I'm so grateful for their friendship that turned into chosen family for me. After I arrived on the scene in the early 80s, he was named my godfather, and not long after that, his daughter Kale was born, the sister I never had. We've stayed close always, in part because of times we shared with Angus. I know we both have so many fond memories of hanging around in Blossom, the Volkswagen van, in the summers in Vancouver. He performed in the streets and parks and festivals, and we would collect up all the hat money. You know, we had to roll a lot of coins back then. We'd get ice cream in English Bay or somewhere on a Gulf island. When Angus fell in love with Yelapa, our family came to check it out there too. I ended up spending all of my teenage winters there learning Spanish, eating porridge in his kitchen, and watching the birds and whales from his casa. Osha, the porridge is ready! Yelling down the hill. I spent the Millennium New Year's there with my dad, John, and he passed away a few months after that. Angus was kind and compassionate in my grief. That same year, when Kale and I were 18, Cedar was born. It was a joy to see Angus so in love with his young son, and I was graced with the role of godmother. And we made it official in the local church in Yelapa with the bautismo, and Lupe, his padrino, there. Life got busy for me, and I missed out on Yelapa for the past 20 years. But fortunately, we're blessed to, see each other in Vancouver and up here on the islands. He and Colin, my husband, became great friends and compadres, trading stories and magic tricks. And we're so happy that our children, Rhea and Miles, got to know him as Uncle Angus. So many cherished balloon animals. He was a big influence in my life, maybe bigger than I realized until now. It's amazing how, this place, and going back to Yelapa, which I did with these guys a couple times already this winter, those places still feel like home after all these years, but they're just not the same. He was always there for me, showing up as fully himself, without compromise. Being in his presence meant connection, magic, fun, adventure. I'll miss the way he took care of us, and all the things, like the way he knitted us all together, and the love and healing he shared freely with the world. He left us a lasting legacy of family, and for that I'm forever grateful. somewhere with a huge grin on his face right now, and a big belly laugh seeing us all together in his favorite place. Angus, your gifts will be cherished. On the list.
Thomas, I don't know where you are.
Back here.
Hi, do you feel like coming up and doing some magic for a minute?
Absolutely, yeah.
So Thomas is gonna come and do some tricks with some of Angus's actual
Yeah, I was here
stuff.
yesterday and I actually grabbed some of this stuff, and that's the one thing we share in common, is our love for magic. So,
Oh, I know that.
I did manage to grab some of this thing. Right?
Do you need a hat, Thomas?
I probably,
Yes, get a hat on.
You know,
Wear a hat.
yeah, you know what? I normally don't wear hats when I perform, but I think this would be very appropriate for today. You know, and it's interesting because just hearing more about Angus, like I didn't know him that well. I'd only met him a few times. Once at one of his garage sales, I still have some of his used tiles under my dome. I live off-grid in a dome, and I realized that how similar my life has been to Angus's. I dropped out of high school. I told my parents I love magic and I want to do magic for the rest of my life, and they were extremely pleased. Then in my mid-20s, I was unsure of what I wanted to do, so I became initiated in Reiki.
Wow.
And I traveled through Europe doing magic on the streets, and then I came back to Vancouver, and I did a lot of kids' birthday parties. But I've been out of practice for quite a while, so I'm a little nervous, but it was just really interesting to just see the connection, and you know, and it's interesting to me when I meet somebody like Angus, I realize, fuck yeah, I made all the right decisions. Anyway, that's okay. So this is something I picked up from Angus. Was the linking rings 1, 2, 3, 4. It was a set of 8, but I decided to just go with the 4, just to make it a little quicker. But watch this. Hold your applause. And you can see that they're linked together. Alright, now you can take those and just try to unlink those. Yeah, just try to unlink those. And I'm going to try to link these together. It's going to be a bit of a contest.
Oh,
Okay, well, I'm still leaving it away. Okay, yeah, you try to unlink them. Yeah, I'm still going to win. Here we go. And you can see that they link together. No, if you're doing it wrong, it's, oh, there you are. And the final two, everybody, help me out. Oh. That was disgusting, but there you go. There you go. Now, this trick I've never done before because this is something that I just picked up out of his trunk and I had no idea where it was. I'm going to tear this toilet paper apart and we will restore it. Look at that. Late of the great recall. Hey,
Brown spots there.
and this is one of my tricks actually, and I think Angus would have really appreciated this trick. It's just hang on a second. I'm gonna find this red sponge ball that I have. Hang on a second. I'm a little bit out of practice. You guys have to give me a little bit of. Yeah, here we go. for these, and I will continue to use these. And as a matter of fact, I've dusted off my trunk, and I got completely inspired to get back to my magic again. So I'm very grateful for Angus. So thank you.
Come on, more stories.
Okay, so I'm gonna read my last thing, and then, Colin, are you doing the trick?
I'll do it.
Okay, then Colin's gonna do a trick, and we're gonna watch the video, and I'm hoping the video will inspire people to just get up and tell stories, or do people already wanna get up and tell stories? We can do that before the video, people are ready. I'll start with mine. This is just a letter I wrote to Angus when we were in Nilapa. And then I'll kind of finish it off. Dear Angus, I never missed you until you left your body, this life, and for that I feel blessed. For you, your spirit, your energy was so big, you were just always there, always here. Even though you didn't raise me or live with me when I was a kid, I can't recall a time I didn't know you were with me or that you loved me. You always encouraged me to be me, to be free, to write, to act, to paint, to create, to do. When my dad that raised me got diagnosed with brain cancer, when I was a teenager, you were there for all of us. You brought vitamins to the hospital that we smuggled into him. You helped us paint the hall of the boat because it was too toxic for him after brain surgery. And when he passed, you filled in all the gaps you could. And I couldn't be more grateful of God to spend my adulthood with you. You see, God knew I would need you more then. And I got to see as I grew older in recent years how divine the whole plan was. There was nothing I did you didn't get excited about throughout my childhood. And when I grew up and became a performer and artist myself, you always cared about what I was working on and inspired me to do more. When I made my first film, you were my biggest fan and promoter. And even though I learned so much from the way you loved and encouraged me unconditionally, it was truly the way you chose to live your life and make your dreams come true for yourself that taught me the most. That wealth, riches, and success were not measured by materials, but by experiences, risks, travels, dreams, connections, and relationships. And even though, as I grew older, I feared the day that you might leave this earth, I guess I never thought it would come. You were too full of life to ever die. And when you did, I realized you wouldn't. And for the first time, I felt like even in my pain, I can maintain a relationship with you in a new way. I saw and felt how great your power was, how mighty your spirit and presence on this earth have been. I felt and saw so much magic release, the impact you had truly on everything you ever touched in all corners of this earth, by the way you chose to walk your walk out in this life in every way. I felt it, the whole earth's heart break, while all of heaven and nature celebrated. I saw how much each word we say, each step we take, each connection we make so clearly changes the world and the fabric of the universe. You did this. You made the world a better place. You touched every human, plant, and animal you came across with love. You shook things up and made people question the comfort you clung to in the best way. You lived and you died the way you wanted to. And that is the greatest comfort I can find in losing you. Knowing that you walked out your path to the fullest with bravery every step of the way, and you never had to give up all the things you loved. It is a great and honorable gift to give your heart to the world the way you did, creating a space for people to find magic and wonder, laughter and lightness. and a great and incredible gift that each of us was blessed enough to get to be a part of the show. Leaving us with his last and greatest magic trick, he disappeared into the night and left a ring around the moon, a window into the door of the portal he would soon ascend into. A magic sunset he painted in the sky and showed my spirit a touch of heaven as he soared higher and higher. He took me all the way up there where he flew free, and all I could do was shout, "Go! Go! Go! Vaya con Dios!" Magic is real, but like Angus would say, it only works if you believe. So my prayer today is that we believe, that we see, look for, and create magic in honor of him, that his legacy of laughter and joy lives through us, that we take every tear shed for Angus and give gratitude for it and everything he gave to this world, that we learn to embrace and chase our dreams, whatever they are, that we make every second on this earth count the way he did, that we don't conform to the norm or follow suit of what everybody else is doing, but that we make our own way, follow our own paths, answer all our callings, and hear Angus in the whispers of the wind calling us on more adventures, that we feel him sending us Reiki, and we Reiki the sky and mountains for him, that we can see the view and absorb its beauty the way he did, and leave our mark with love in every part of this planet we touch, that he continues to visit us in our dreams through birds and whales, that we continue to look for the signs of him guiding us and reminding us to lighten up!
I don't have Angus's voice. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that rum and coke's gonna help. I'm a little choked up. I had the pleasure of growing up with Keith and Gary when he was Gary in the summers at Crescent Beach. And I remember them raising their parents very well. They were very gregarious and treated me really well. We did a lot of water skiing. And turns out this is a story of gratitude and with some magic thrown in. I didn't realize he had magic in those days, but as it turned out, he did. I need to get this right. So we all know, I know Keith and Gary were both adventurous. Gary went on to a different path later on, but we all swam and dove together and water skied. And a little bit of, I can remember Gary used to ask to sneak out. In the summer, when people were sneaking out, go right to sneak out. And he usually was allowed to sneak out. So it's a story of gratitude because it's the only flight he enabled well, I see their adventures as being very inspiring and enabling. And Gary enabled me to get in the only fight I ever got into, and I came out unscathed. And now I look back, I see it was his input. A hot summer day in the summer, and I used to spend time with both of them, or one or the other. This was a day that, for whatever reason, Gary and I decided to get in their boat and go to White Rock for ice cream. Remember this story at all? No. You might get it. So we go get some cones, park the boat here, go get the cones. We're heading back to the boat, ice cream in hand, and simultaneously we both get our cones kicked out of our hands from behind by some locals. And they end up on the ground. And so, taking offense to that, I engaged with one of them, and we started kicking each other. And because I had flip-flops on and he had leather boots, so that wasn't going so well. So, at the moment I decided I would, engage the knockout punch, I slipped on my cone and went down.
On your phone.
On the cone. I jumped up to re-engage, and from behind I get grabbed by a guy that parked his car and jumped out and saw me as the aggressor, grabbed me, and the guys took off. And to quote Mike Tyson, everyone has a plan in a fight until they get punched in the face. And so I think Gary had a little magic to help me get out of that unscathed. And in honor of that, I brought some ice cream cones.
Hi, I'm Robin, and I love supporting Cedars and his kids here. I'm just getting to a point that Cedars been in our lives for a long time. They Steve and my son, Milo, have known each other since they've been hanging out. And there are a couple little things I wanted to share about Angus, because I think at the end of the life, you do reflect on what a person is and who are they, and our actions speak a lot. And I just wanted, I don't know if you knew this, but the first time we went to Yulapa, Milo was 5 months old, and I didn't want to go to Yulapa because I didn't want to get bitten. And I also a 5-month-old baby, but you were there, and so Milo was 5 months. And so Angus was so sweet because he knew that I was a new mother, and he just made sure that I was on the boat with the best driver. And in fact, this driver had actually had a baby too, about 5 months. And the way there, it was pretty rocky, and I was pretty like, oh my God, and then Angus he went out and he found this driver. So just little acts of kindness like that. And it extended because, as you know, Cedar, Milo, I don't mean to embarrass you, but you took after your mother and then you had a bit of separation anxiety. And Milo, I'm telling you this, but Milo never wanted to go overnight anywhere. And he wanted to, but he just couldn't. The only place he could go would be to Angus's. And he'd come. I don't know if you knew that, but it was big. And Angus would always go, it's okay, it'll be okay. So that makes me teary-eyed because it was just, he was so good to me. And you guys were so cute. And I'm so glad that he had you.
He's still cute.
And he's still cute. And, Angus, what? He's one of the people, and I just love you guys. The last thing I want to say is, often when someone passes, you think, what was the last moment? What was my last conversation? We can't help but do that. And sometimes we can't remember it. But this time, my last moment with Angus was just before he left. To go to Yulapa this time. He would always come and stay at our house in Nelson. Frank's my husband here. And he came, and I was actually working. I was really tired, and it was like Angus was coming, and I wanted to see him. And you know, he came in, hello, doll, and you know, here he is. And he's sleeping over because he wanted to, you know, see us. But it just happened that our sons were there, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm working tomorrow, but I'm staying up. And we had this beautiful night, and he talked. He told me everything about YouTube. He just talked about YouTube and how much he adored you. And I just asked questions, and I just realized how so deeply he loved you guys. And that's what you want as parents and as a person. You just want to be loved by your, you know, you want your parents to love you, you know, and it's a testimony to him. And it wasn't easy, you know. I mean, you know, and so that night was such a special night, and he was in such a wonderful state, excited to paint, feeling wonderful, and as you said, he didn't, his magic was he didn't have go out get no more, he was going out getting younger, so it was a beautiful night. And I'm grateful for that, and that last night is a reminder to not let any moment pass us without thinking it could be our last, because we don't know. Life is such a mystery, and you know, death binds us beautifully. And I just, yeah, I love Angus. Angus, thank you for your gifts. You're folded into the hearts of many of us here. And Peter, I love you. Kate, I love you. And I just, good friend to my husband, Angus. So anyway, thank you for letting me share that. Thank you. One last thing, as you said with the performance, magic, magic. All of life is magic. If there's magic in your heart. Does anyone else feel like getting up and sharing? Debbie, I know you were going to share. Corey? Debbie will come after. Fantastic. Thank you guys. We love to hear the stories.
When I met Angus, my dad had just passed away. Me and him kicked it off right away. I was working for him, I was helping him with anything he needed. Coming to the house, stealing dogs. Come home and say, dog! I always knew they were a thing. He was everything. He was a friend, a father figure to me at that time, but more so a brother. It's really hard. But that guy, man, he had my back no matter what. He would fight for you. He would make time to die for you, no matter what you had. I miss him so much.
So I went to Europe with Angus, and this is, I'll go back, but we can start here because it's a nice way to start it. And I busked around Europe with Angus for a summer, and I was like, well, how do you know what they're gonna pay or what they're gonna give you? No, here's what you do. Okay, some of you might not know what to pay a street performer. So take out your wallet. Take out $5, put it in your pocket, and give me the rest. Yeah, I think when you float up to the early gates, I know that you look back on experience, a connection, precious moments, so when Angus died, I was like, I had that. I was like, holy shit, Angus. He's my brother, he's my family. And yeah, there's a lot of profound moments with that dude. So maybe in point form, let's start. Cool, soft leather coats with rad hats and boots. my dad was in a reggae band, and Angus, they were good buddies in the 80s, and it's not all super clear. But I remember cool leather coats and rad hats.
Yeah.
And I remember music, and I remember lots of talks. I remember deep talks and lots of fun. And I remember Angus from when I was even little talking to me like a person. And we had a great friendship that started there. I moved around a lot. I lived in Victoria for a while. Like, he was gigging there, so he'd come into town and throw me in the van. We'd roll around for there. He'd stay in the van, do some magic, watch his shows. Time went on, we went to Seattle, then I spun back around, we'd touch base every time we was with my dad, or we'd be back, but I decided that I had a bit of a vacant dad myself, and I wanted to connect with him, so I came back when I was 16 to the Sunshine Coast, and Angus was still a big part of his life, and we were hanging a lot then, and I think we were rolling over on the ferry together, and I met this kind of cool girl out in Vancouver, and she was something. She was a professional ballerina. She was one of the prestigious schools. And I said, shit, that's her on a date. We're on the ferry. I said, okay, I'll ask her on a date. So she was like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool. We talked a bit, and she lived in some fancy little condo downtown with her mom, going to school. So he had a whole idea. He's gonna do a show. He's gonna get us. He's gonna take us on a date in the van. He's gonna drop us off. We're gonna go, and we roll up in the van, and like this, it's like this pretty straight-looking lady looks out the door, and she's like, "Oh, so my ballerina daughter's gonna jump in with the student van, and this young nice boy, and they're gonna go on a date." So he took us on a date. He dropped us off. He picked us up after the show. Dropped us off at Jericho to make out the van for a little bit. Drove us home. Drove her home, gave her a kiss, never saw her again. We went down. we went back down to Jericho, put up the pop top, we went to bed for the night, and we talked about love.
Yeah.
So Angus, and the memories went on, but he initiated me to Reiki when I was 17 on Trail Island. Profound moment of energy that I felt with him there. We spent many years in the Alapa together. We learned paraglide together. We right after Cedar was born, I was having a hard time. I was going through time here. He's like, "Come on down, bro. Come on down. He's just about to have you, I think." And I got down there, and they just had a baby. And Angus invited me into the house to stay there, which they just had a baby, but he was always open. And then you guys left, I think, for the year, and he left me with the house and he told me to journal. He told me to play music and journal. And then I was talking to him on the phone. He's like, "Hey, I got stood up on a trip to sail in Europe." He said, "Why don't you come down and tour with us in Europe and do some street performance?" I was like, with the brand new baby. Irene was like, "Fucking kidding me?" So I flew out there, and I got picked up by some crazy street performer lady. And we went and we hung out, and I didn't spend long. I gave you guys space because you were a brand new baby. And we toured around and played festivals, and he taught me the way of the Europe street a little bit. And I think we always were really good friends. He was always really proud of me and my accomplishments, and I was always proud of him. We talked a lot. We lived together a bunch in the Alapa, and we talked a lot of late nights, and we talked a lot about you guys. And he made me really understand the unconditional love of the vacant father, and how it didn't take away from any of that. It was grand and huge. And he loved you so much, always. And Cedar, he's so goddamn proud of you. And so with the download, I could be here all day, and I could tell you stories. That dude was something else. And he always showed up at the wrong time, but it was just and I was like, fuck, kids are running out to school. Hey, oh, the dogs are going crazy because he's making all this noise coming on the driveway at 8 in the morning. I'm like, Angus is here. Sit down now. It was awesome. And the last time I hit him was I was doing something over here and I ran into his house and he was rushing somewhere with somebody I've never met before and they're on it and I came in all loud and he was like, fuck, Demian's here, and he took a minute and I got him. So God, yeah, bless his heart. You know, when he really believed in spirit. When my dad passed away, he came to visit us right as he was leaving, and the first person I called was Angus. Said, "You wouldn't fucking believe it, Angus. He just came in, la 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 la." He's like, "Fucking cool, bro." So cool. So his spirit is flying free. Blessings to everyone here and to the spirit of Angus.
Yay.
Hi, I'm Zoe. First of all, I want to thank you guys for bringing us all together, inviting us to have a space to celebrate the most amazing person that we probably all ever knew. Thank you. Andale. Ha. Ha. Angus was my dog's best friend. I'm sure most of us can say that.
All three of them.
I caught it like regular several times a week, going for a hike. Oak, that's all I got, and then I had to run to the top of the driveway because he was going to be there in 2 minutes. I said, okay, I'm fucking coming. And Oak, there's pretty much two people in Oak's life that he would walk away from me for, and that would be Angus or my son. So that says a lot to me. Whoever said it earlier about how dogs and babies, you know you're a good person if they love you, and they all loved him. So he knew. I spent a lot of time with Angus. I don't remember really meeting him. He just was there a lot. Everywhere I went, everybody I knew was like connected to him somehow. I think I met him at Virginia's house initially, and then just everywhere I went, he was part of it. And obviously, you know, everybody here, my one friend, she's like, I don't know, I don't want to come, I'll be so random. I said, everybody here is going to be random. We're all from such different walks of life, and he was able to connect with everybody, and reiterating, of course, how much I heard about Kale and Cedar, sitting around under the cedar tree, having smokes and drinking scotch. And I want to talk about the bear. About how we're not supposed to talk about the bear. And how Angus made my dog bear aware. He was a bear lover because of Angus. He didn't jump up and freak out when the bear showed up. And I want to talk about the skunks.
Yes!
About the day we were having a party there. I think it was Angus's birthday, actually. Or he was leaving, or Frank was leaving, or some reason to get together and have dinner. And he said, check this out. And so there's like 7 of us standing on his little walkway outside of his door. Takes a handful of cat food, throws it over about 5 feet away, and 5 skunks came out. 5 skunks. You would not have known they were there because they were so happy and comfortable there. They were so happy. It was their house too. And they didn't smell the place up because it was fine. He let them be, and he let them be who they were, just like he let everybody be who they were. And they didn't give a shit that we were all standing there. And I want to talk about last summer when Angus really, really tried hard to help me find a truck that we could afford, which we didn't end up doing, but he drove me all over the place trying to help, and he always had my back like that. Always encouraging me to be strong. He called me Muscle Beach. We used to do firewood together, and I'd lift something, and he'd go, oh, Muscle Beach! Always felt like $1 million. He always called me girl, and I felt like a young woman around that man. Because he was such a young man. nobody had told me he was in his 70s. I would never have guessed. And I want to talk about the last interaction I had with Angus, which wasn't really an interaction because I didn't respond. Because sometimes he was a crusty old bitch. Let's put it out there. And the last thing he had to say to me was that my dogs had put way too much hair in the back of his car and he wanted me to design a cover for the back seat of his car.
Looks like it.
And I was thinking to myself, that's kind of a you problem. I'm not the only person. I'm the only person with dogs in the back of the car. I was like, didn't respond to that. And then you died. And I didn't get a chance to say, you crusty old bitch. Talking about. But my friend who is connected to whatever's going on beyond here has said that he apologized. And I can't help but picture him with a happy hunting ground with all my dogs and everybody else's dogs had already gone there and they were there, they were jumping on him and sniffing his butt and kissing on his feet, so happy to see him. And that's the way I'm going to remember him. He's going on the eternal hike.
And you know he loves you.
Yeah. I just want to say one more thing. This is the first memorial that I ever chose to go to because I can't help feel what everybody's feeling in the room, and I was really scared to do that ever before, but I figured here I'm safe. You know?
You are. You are.
Thanks, guys. Blessings, everybody.
Oh, Jan is gonna share a few words. I thought I saw Lana zip around. I would like her to be up there now. Hannah?
Again.
We're just gonna save the power cable, just power down, so I'm just gonna charge it because this laptop wasn't on. Again.
Just in case anybody doesn't know, Ojan's my godmother. So Angus and Ojan are my godparents. I can't think of Angus without thinking of Lana. And whenever I think of Lana, I think about Angus. We were like the three musketeers, like some kind of interconnectedness that is still here. And there was an era or a time well, first when Lana and I were like in our early 20s, before we met Angus, we went to Cortez Island and lived in a chicken shack. So I've known Lana for a long time. And I met Angus first at a festival, music festival, and that was a time or an era where it was like a gypsy life. So during the spring hike, that was like a time when my nephew was completely shocked that I didn't know about ABBA. But that was because you weren't connected to anything but sleeping in teepees and traveling from one music festival to the next and trading and rainbow gatherings.
Yeah, only before rainbow gatherings. And, so it was I forget which gathering this was, but it was, kind of a dusky night, and I'm not sure, but I think Angus had just come back from Afghanistan. And he looked very, mysterious. You know, you had this, like, scarf that was, I guess, Afghan scarf, and so right away when we passed in the dusk, it was like, and then pretty soon we were like rolling in the. And of course it was really lovely to meet Eve at that time, and I got to meet Angus's parents. Even though during that time the life was very different, they were very lovely people, and it was very posh. I felt like the house was very posh after 2 feet of ground and spiders. And I think I had my first martini.
But not your last.
But it was also very strange because we had to sleep in separate bedrooms. But I'm very grateful for what I heard as I walked in the room. How Lake, Kale and Lake expressed so beautifully Angus and Angus's family, who we all are, and I would love to have a coffee because it was very, for me, it felt very right on and very Angus. But one thing I would like to leave you with is, oh yeah, and then of course, the birth of Ocean. Angus was there, even though we weren't together anymore, there were all these people there. And that was the way it was, you know? Just a freak show.
Goddamn hippies.
But we were coming back from one fair and going to another, I think it was probably called the Barnes Creek Fair. And we were in the back of the pickup truck, we were getting a ride, and there was Angus and myself and another woman. And, you know, sometimes you didn't eat for a long time, or it was pouring in rain, and I'd had a fight with this girl in the back of the truck, and I was crying in the corner and sobbing and waiting for Angus to come over and, you know, hug me and hold me, and yeah, she's terrible, isn't she? And he said, hey, live and learn. And I have used that my entire life, and I will continue to use that. It always comes up if we keep living and learning. It's a good way to be. So that's my kind of mantra gift
Lana has a story, but let's make her tell it quick before she changes her mind. Mikey knows this one. When we were in Dominica, and so the president of the island was giving a speech on a balcony with a megaphone, and the whole island came to listen to the speech. He was a dictator. Yeah, he was a dictator of Dominica. And then Angus decided it was a really great time to stand at the back of the crowd and juggle machetes. The whole town that was supposed to be listening to the guy turned around and started watching. And the police came, of course. Had to run out of there. Yeah. Get the hell out of here.
So funny that you were there for that.
The guys in the black suits came. Remember, Angus thought, well, everyone's got a machete, so he thought, well, I'll get 3 machetes and go juggling. And we were wandering through Roseau and Dominica, and there's a big crowd, and there's a balcony on the second story, and they're waiting for the Prime Minister. We didn't know Angus saw our crowd and went, oh boy, time to juggle. So we went down to the corner and started juggling, and the whole crowd came down to the corner. And here's the Prime Minister going to come out and talk to his loyal subjects, and there's nobody left there. But pretty quick, the guys in the black suits showed up and told us to beat it. And after that, it kind of put a target on our backs for the rest of our time there. It was a nasty island. It became a really... Anyway, at old Angus there, I treasure... I was going to tell that story. I treasure that story. It was... we had a good time. We were there for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or something. Okay.
For the dogs, and he never did win over the cats, but he would always try. I have so many fond memories of spending summers here with Angus. We would go to the beach together. Angus, speaking of dogs' best friends, Angus was also Echo's best friend, and let's go get Echo and let's go to the beach. And we'd play frisbee, and Echo would stand right next to us and put his head on our legs while we were playing. And it was those are some really fun memories of the beach. And when I first met Angus, his van was always full of children, and he would switch beaches at the other Caroline's Beach or Starvalley Beach and Cedar and Milo and basically all the kids, Felix, Zion. I got to know all these little boys through Angus and Cedar, and it was really, really beautiful years. Yeah. And then in later years, we both had so much time because our kids were gone, and we would take turns going to each other's place for cocktails. And we would go to his lake, and he's so proud of the lilies on that lake. And we'd sit there and enjoy the flowers. Or we would be under his cedar tree, and the skunks would come out, and the birds, and there were bears. But it was just like a Walt Disney. It was like birds and skunks, and it was just like when you're a kid and everything's so harmonious and beautiful. That was what Angus was like all the time, and it was really, pressures in life and things getting you down. Hang out with Angus, and it would just be so simple and beautiful. I'm gonna miss my beach, but he's a good guy. Thanks.
Does anybody else want to speak, or do we want to maybe take a break, go outside? Oh, are you going to come up and speak? I'm so sorry.
I was, and then I was up already. I'm Matea. I don't like public speaking, but I did like speaking to Angus, so I like try to do that. My mom is Justine, and my grandma's Diana, and my mom tells the story. She couldn't be here today. She has this opportunity with my brother, which I'm sure Angus would understand and be stoked about. But she went to Alabama for the first time when she was 18. And that's where she met my dad, and so that's where I'm from as well. And she tells the story about, you're young and you're traveling, and
she was all over Mexico, and I think she drove down in like a Toyota Corolla or something, and she has all these crazy stories about it, and how it was just exhausting, and she was tired of all the travel and the back and forth, and she went to Yelapa on Demian and Aaron's recommendation to go and see their dad, because there was a familiar face there, and they were like, you have to go check this out, it's beautiful place to be. And so she went, it was like her last destination, and she was like, if this is, not it, then I'm going home, I'm tired of it. And she landed on the beach, and it was, for those of you who have not visited Yelapa, it's a beautiful paradise on the coast of Mexico, and it's boat access only, and there's no cars in the back then. When she showed up, there was no electricity, and Angus was already living there. And she was on the beach one day, and you're 18 and you feel amazing and anonymous, and you're taking on the world, and she's sitting there on the beach, and somebody turns to her upon hearing her laugh, probably, or her voice, and says, "Are you Dinah's daughter?" She's like, "Yeah, I can't escape it." And it was Angus. And she likes to tell that story with kind of the aura of this 18-year-old who's like, "Oh, I've been caught." But I think, having grown up with Angus and knowing him and his beautiful energy, I think that I'm sure, seeing him there and having that familiar face, it solidified that this was a place that she wanted to be and continue going back to, because it was so safe and because it invited this beautiful energy into it. And so that she did, and she ended up going back year after year, and then a few years later, Cedar was born, and like 6 months after that, I was born, and we grew up running around the beaches together, and I grew up, back up here and down there, and Cedar and Angus were always there and always around. And so I think, fast forward, 18 years later, and I'm going off on my own to see the world, and Angus is there, and I run into him one day, and he's telling me all of these amazing connections that he has in every country that I'm planning on going to, and he had this way of making this world feel so small, and he invited in this beautiful community that, I don't know you and you don't know me, but we both know Angus, and so we are related, and we know each other, and we have this connection like that. And I'm just really grateful to have been able to be in his presence at all, and to grow up around him. I grew up here, I grew up in Mexico, in Yelapa, and there's some crazy characters around, but he was always somebody who just was so real and so human, and gave me a lifelong friend in Cedar, and for that I'm so grateful. And it's beautiful to see everybody coming here together in his honor and his memory, and I'm grateful to have known him and to have had him in my life.
Well said.
Thank you all.
Okay, if everybody feels like taking a break right now, maybe we'll just take a pause, and then we'll just show the video later, and if anybody wants to share, that's still an open